Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper, and today I want to talk about the reasons why prepping is not that common. And I'm mostly going to talk about the reasons in Belgium, but it counts for most countries in the Western world, to be honest. But before we do that, if you're interested in survival courses, there will be a link to my survival courses in Belgium, and there's also a link to my book called Bloody Crosses, so it's in Dutch. So if you're interested in detective stories, take a look, I would say. So, reasons why prepping is not common in the culture is perhaps a better wording, I would say. And the first reason I would think of is generational peace. And what do I mean by that? This is also the reason why prepping is more common in America than in Europe. Europe has been, uh, most of Western Europe has had peace for the last 80 to 80 years, around something like that, after World War II. So, yeah, we have like 3 or 4 generations of people who have never been through war, never been through famine, hunger, or that kind of situations. So, of course, because your grandparents had it good, your parents had it good, and you had it good, and especially the young people right now, they never had shortage or bad times in a way. So, yeah, that's that's a reason. That's a good reason why we forget what hunger, pain, shortage, conflict is. So yeah, that's the first reason I would say. And another reason is overregulation. We have There is so much regulation in just in everything. There are laws to regulate how your house can look, how big your house can be. You have to ask for permits to build something extra to your house. You have to have permits to do certain things. Permits for guns. Uh, Permits for how your car, what can be on to your car or how your car is. So yeah, for almost everything here in Belgium at least, there is a permit or some sort of um, yes word needed from governal instances. And yeah, as a prepper, that is often very limiting. If, for example, if you want to build a glass house, how do you say this? Um, where you grow your vegetables in a glass house. If you want to build something like that onto your property, you need to ask for a building permit and such. And yeah, it can cost a lot, especially if you don't have much means. And yeah, that is a very big problem. And also with taxes and this and all this stuff, yeah, it can take a lot of from your prepping if you want to be self-reliant, especially if there are certain regulations that you need to pay for certain stuff, but it's stuff that you can do for your own. For example, you can make your own electricity with solar panels, but you still have to pay something to the electric companies because either you put electricity back into the system and you for some reason they say you have to pay for that to be part of that system, even though you generate electricity that you put onto the net, which is baffling to me. There are certain places which has some problems with water provision, and you have to pay something for sewers and for the water pipes and all that stuff. So even if you collect your own rainwater, filter it, you still have to pay for this stuff in taxes and all this. Even if you don't, if you how do you say this? If garbage disposal, you don't make garbage, you reuse, recycle almost everything. You still have to pay for the municipal taxes for garbage, even though you're not using it. So yeah, that is what I mean with overregulation, especially at least here in certain parts of Belgium. Another one is too much reliance on the government. That is something that I often feel baffled about. I know it's handy if you can get something from the government, whether it's like a bonus or something that they say you have right to it. But certain people, they don't see it as a right, they just see it as normal part of life, and that is something that baffles me, because I've been talking to certain people that says to me, you can get this from the government, or you can get this from the government, and I ask why. I don't, and they often say, I don't know, but you can get it from them. And that is something like, in my mind, it sounds wrong. It sounds like a chain, handcuff with chains from gold, in my opinion. So yeah, this makes a lot of people too much dependent on government, whether it's for I'm not talking about people who lost their job, but there are a lot of people who are on benefits of the government that can work, but they choose not to, and they use every law or rule in the book to further the way, the extent, the period that they can take advantages of these benefits of the government. And yeah, I always, well, every time I had to get some benefits from the government, for example, when my job, especially during COVID, after COVID, there were certain periods where we didn't have work enough. So I was put on so-called technical jobless. So that means I'm still part of the company, I'm still have the job, but I'm getting paid in a way by the government as a way to subsidize the wager that we lost on that. That's, in a way, it's something good, but I always felt bad by it. In a way, it was not sitting right. I know it's handy, and there are a lot of people who really needed it, especially if they are on technical jobless statute, so to say. But a lot of people take advantages of it, in my opinion. So that's what I mean by too much reliance on government support, and those people don't learn to be self-reliant, is what I'm trying to say. Uh, Next one is culturally, mentally, and even by growing up. I have the luck that I had a grandfather that was, in a way, in many ways, self-reliant. He was a mechanic. He could make much stuff himself. He grew much stuff himself. He stoked his own alcohol. He slaughtered animals for food. And yeah, that is something that was given with me as a child, and that has been a great part of me, of how the man I've become to be more self-reliant. I had those good examples, but a lot of people, especially people who live in big cities, they don't get these examples. They don't grow up with these ideas of self-reliance, and in a way I pity them, and I know they cannot help it themselves because they never knew it. But yeah, it's something to think about. Have you talk about the golden horde? Uh, Next one is, and it is especially a problem in Belgium, the lack of nature, too much urbanization, and opportunities to do something like survival hikes or something like that. The problem here in Belgium, at least in the part where I live, which is half of Belgium, which is uh, almost flat terrain. It's always meadows. It's a lot of urbanization, and that will not give you the chance to be more self-reliant by foraging, hunting, um, and do survival hikes to learn those skills. So yeah, that's something that is not really handy about Belgium. There is another part in Belgium, well, Walloon, which has a lot of nature, but it's very protected nature. So even when you're going hiking, there are a lot of regulations. You cannot make fire. You can only stay on certain grounds that are designated camping sites. So yeah, you cannot learn a lot as a prepper. In America, this would be different, I think. And in countries like Scandinavian countries or Scotland, they have a free use of the land, but in almost everywhere else in Europe, it's prohibited. So yeah, That's really annoying in my opinion, unless you go to certain forest or wildlife natural areas. But yeah, if you have to travel every time 200 kilometers to do that stuff, it's really um, limiting to your abilities to do that, is what I'm trying to say. Next thing I would say is the work focused mentality. What do I mean by that? I see a lot of people who are only busy with work and try to to be a consumer by the money they gain from that work. So what I'm trying to say is a lot of people, they think I need to work, but they don't have the time nor the energy or the perhaps financial resources because of that, or time to do all the prepping self-reliance work. I don't say they have to be full self-reliant, but I'm trying to say that they, how do you say this, they they can do a part of it, but because they are always focused on their work, that's the reason why I started to work 4/5, like they call it. So I work 1 day less in the week, but because I work day less in the week, I could make money, but now I can put all an extra day in all self-reliance projects like gardening, my animals, and in that way I can make that money back in long term, in my opinion. So yeah, and there is also this work-focused mentality of productivity and technology. What do I mean by that? We always rely on technology, and everything has to be so efficient as possible. So yeah, we don't do things on the old ways. For example, I have a washing machine that is 80, 70, 87, 78 years old. It's fully mechanical. I made a video about this, and it only cost me €5, and I still use it. But other people, don't want to spend more than this time on their laundry, so I only do it for like 45 minutes a week, and all my laundry is done. But some people, they do it every day in their washing machine, which has an automatic program, and that washing machine has to be replaced like every 5 years, or they have to repair it, or they have to buy so many small things for inside of it. They need a dryer, so there's a lot of space, a lot of money, and a lot of time that you actually spend on this machine that's supposed to be taking a lot of time off you, so you can do more stuff. So yeah, that's also a big problem in my opinion in this cultural mentality. Next thing is media coverage. We always hear about disasters that are really bad in other countries, in the bad countries. But if there is a disaster in Belgium, for example, it never speaks about the aftermath. It speaks only about something bad happened, but the police was on time, the ambulance was on time, only so many people got hurt, this and that, but they never talk about the aftermath after the disaster. And yeah, it always gives the news that everything will be alright. If there is a disaster here in Belgium, there will always be police, there will always be an ambulance, nothing to worry about. So yeah, that gives a wrong image to most citizens that no, nothing bad can ever happen, even if a disaster is happening. So yeah, that is part of it. Next thing is, and it is something that I don't like about the Belgian government, and that is their short-term planning. What do I mean by that? We don't. Belgium is a land where we always do things in short. We always want a fast solution. We want it fast. We want it now, and it must be done as soon as possible. But there is no long-term planning. We want it, like I said, we want it too efficient, too much reliance on technology. So yeah, even if that doesn't work as well as something that demands a little bit of self-responsibility from everyone, or from long term, to put it into the culture. No, we want our direct change, and the problem is it's so direct and fast that it will not either work or work less efficient, or there will be too much problems with it, or it will be too much hay on the fork, so to say. So yeah, that's the reason why there are always how do you say this, uh, works on the roads in Belgium, because our roads are just getting fixed with duct tape, so to say. So no wonder it's already broken 6 months after it's been built up, so to say. Uh, Next one is we have we especially here in Belgium. I don't know about the rest of Europe or America, but we have a Burgundic eating culture. So that means a typical person in Belgium is enjoying his food. We want the best food, even if we have to do some other things less. We want our good meals, so to say. We want it good. We want it special, but in that kind of culture where you think, I need to have my food with that much meat, that much vegetables, that much dessert, and that much coffee behind it. So yeah, first of all, it makes us fat. Second, if there is a disaster, we pull our noses. How do you say this? Uh, Pull up our noses to it from. I would rather eat. Would rather not eat that. And that is a mentality, like I said, in a growing up culture that is not being implanted. That sometimes you need to eat something simple. Just eat a bowl of rice with a few vegetables, and you will be alright. But no, you have to have all the whole food pyramid inside of your dinner or breakfast, so to say. Next thing is, and it is perhaps a little bit controversial, but I would say, especially here in Belgium, we have a problem with multicultural influence from non-prepping cultures. What do I mean by that? A lot of migrants or people who come to Belgium to live from other countries, they come from countries that don't have a prepping culture. So it's like countries like Morocco, Turkey, countries from the Middle East, and some other Western Europe countries. These there are people coming in, but they don't have the mentality like from poor third nation countries, that they are more self-reliant. They are, of course, they are, but they usually go to big cities where they cannot do this. So yeah, that's, and like with the overregulation, they cannot perform it in the countryside. So that's also a big problem in getting it prepping into the culture, is what I'm trying to say. So for example, if you would have a whole stream of Americans come here from how do you say this, from the Midwest, or where they live in hillbilly kind of country, they will be more self-reliant and put and give it off to the culture around them and assimilate that way. But we don't see that with most migrants that come to here, that come from non-prepping cultures. Uh, Next thing is the modernity takes over the ways of our grandfathers. Like I said, my grandfather did almost everything self. He was still in a lot of ways self-reliant, but modernity is pushing that away from out of our culture. Uh, we a lot of buildings that are built are apartments, because that makes a lot of more money for immobilian offices that can take a percentage of it. But a lot of people don't get us a house with a garden where they can grow their own vegetables. They don't have time to raise animals, for like chickens, to get eggs or get meat from it. And yeah, like I said, it's not in the lifestyle, and there is too much reliance on this technology. Next thing is, I would say there is less societal cohesion, I would say. We used to, oh, you make potatoes. Oh, can I trade you with my harvest of carrots? Oh, and you can trade some of your potatoes with Gary from on the street. He has some too much eggs from his chickens. So we used to know all our neighbors, but now in the Western world, a lot of people don't even meet or even talk to their neighbors, and that's not really handy if you want to have a prepper. If you want to be a prepper, so because yeah, except for the lone wolves, but if you want to have a proper community, a Mac group, so to say, yeah, there's less people you can do that with it because you talk and know less people in your general area. Uh, Next thing I would say is hmm, the draft. Till the 90s, we used to have military draft in Belgium, and I think it has made a lot of people the way that we are. Because as a young man, you become a man, in my opinion, if you have experience in the real world. You had conflict. You had to be a little bit self-reliant. You had to work with other people. You have to learn skills, and that makes you into a good man, I would say. But now, yeah, because people are not drafted anymore, they don't get to experience discipline, teamwork, self-reliance for your uniform and your gear, or even, like I said, the societal cohesion towards your country. So yeah, in my opinion, then there are a lot of skills in the army, like first aid, self-defense, uh, evasion, camouflage, take care of your maintenance of your gear, perhaps driving certain vehicles. Those are all things that are learned in the army, and yeah, you don't. A lot of kids don't even know how to make their own meals these days. So imagine if they grow up. Last one I think is pop culture. Um, there are a lot. There are sometimes you have periods where there are games with survival. How do you say survival continents and parts towards it, but you don't see it. You see it more in games than in movies. I've noticed that are less in at least in the mainstream media. There are less movies about survival and prepping, and if preppers are portrayed in these movies, they are usually the lone wolf, maniac, conspiracy theorist. So gun nuts with only beans and guns in their basements. So yeah, that makes a certain that has made a certain image of preppers, and yeah, a lot of people, that's the first thing that they think that I do when they hear that I'm a prepper. So yeah, that's a little bit. And another thing that bothers me is in even in survival games, that is there is not the full experience of shortage, because you always have to do missions like gather gasoline to power the generator, but in long-term survival situations, yeah, gasoline will degrade. You will not know how certain generators work, for example. So yeah, it's not the real full thing, and people will underestimate things by only watching the few survival movies and games that they had. Uh, so yeah, if you have any other ideas why prepping is not in the culture of Western Europe and America, perhaps, please let me know. Always eager to learn other points. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'm going to hang out a little bit. So cheers.